Hey Sophie.
Hi, Robert. Sorry, I'm not really able to join the meeting from a quiet place today. How are you?
No worries. I'm doing all right. Yeah, I missed the meeting last week, or 2 weeks ago. Um, were you able to attend that one 2 weeks ago? Did anything significant happen or discussed?
2 weeks ago. So my memory of these, sometimes I get confused with all the different meetings.
Yeah, they blend together.
Yeah, they do blend together. I think
Yep.
we were just discussing the possibility of having like representatives from the SDK to join, like the different SDKs. But I think there was also a discussion about um, talking about hips, although I'm not sure, we didn't really elaborate on that very much.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've been meaning to watch the recording, but I just haven't been able to get to it. All right, cool. See who else joins.
Yep.
Hey Keith.
Hello.
Howdy. Let's give it like another minute or two, and then we can get started. Hey Angelina. All right, we can probably go ahead and get started. I didn't really have too much to discuss today. I was just gonna go over what the SDK teams are currently working on for this sprint. We have about well, we have this week left in our sprint. But the two main things we're working on now are HIP 1195. That's the Hiero hooks. We have a design doc pretty much finalized at this point in the SDK hub for it, and we've started implementation on it. Um, and I believe actually that the uh, Vanco from LimeChain actually has a working and tested implementation of this in Go, I believe. So yeah, we're working through that right now. Hopefully get them all good and finalized by the end of the week. Um, and then we have another design doc open for the changing of the node account IDs for nodes. Basically, we want, there's been an ask or a push to allow people running nodes to be able to change the account IDs that are associated with those nodes. Um, and so, give people and node operators more freedom to control where their node rewards go to. It's not just going to be locked into one account. They'll be allowed to change. So we have another design doc open for that. And I believe this is still in the works on the consensus node side. I don't think it's fully finalized yet. So we're kind of doing all we can at this point. I don't think we're necessarily going to start implementation for this maybe till next sprint. Um, but we're just kind of keeping up with what those discussions are. I think they're pretty much close to finalized. Keith, you may have more information on that, but yeah, I don't think there will necessarily be any API additions or changes here for us. I think it's going to be more so just adding a round of tests to make sure that these changes are taken by the consensus node, and just everything works fine for us. Um, but yeah, so that's in the works right now. Then yeah, I mean that's pretty much all we have going on right now for the sprint. So are there any questions on those? Any comments, additions?
I'll just add that I did attend the last node account ID meeting. I think there's still some back and forth about the design, in particular, some disagreement if when change node account IDs, whether it should take effect immediately or we should only do it at upgrade boundaries or how that should work. And that does have an impact on the SDKs because I mean, there is a small segment of users who are maybe specifically targeting a specific node, in which case in the SDKs, you do identify that by the node account ID. So if it all of a sudden changes on you, that would maybe cause problems. Um, Also, just in general, like if it if it takes effect immediately, and node account ID change in the consensus node, I mean, that would take at least a few seconds to propagate that change to propagate out to, let's say, to the mirror node so the SDKs can read it. So even in the situation where the SDKs are just automatically like reading node account ID values from the address book from the SDK or from the mirror node, then yeah, I mean I have a concern that there'd be like maybe a two or I don't know, like maybe 2 or 5 second delay before the SDKs would become aware of what the new node account ID is. And so with that, in that in that interim period, they might be submitting transactions to that node that would be failing. I don't know, these are just some different considerations.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I guess maybe when I was talking about purely from an API perspective, like we're not going to be adding, there's no new functionality or updated functionality to be added here for like the user. The API is going to remain the same. But yes, there are definitely some implications of things that could change and could affect users that we'll need to take into consideration, discuss. I know Sammy and I have already discussed some possibilities, some things we could do or implement underneath the hood to try and mitigate this a little bit, or mitigate those situations you just described. But again, yeah, like nothing's finalized yet, but it's more just like we're keeping this on our radar and yeah, making sure that the developer experience isn't affected greatly.
I think the other design discussion, which is maybe kicking off, is um a new one is like we do have situations sometimes where nodes get into degraded conditions, and we've actually had a case of that just recently where a node was kind of responding with a I think a 522 error code, but it took a long time for the error like for it to error out, like 40 seconds or something. And we were getting some complaints from SDK customers. So there is a design discussion starting about like how can the SDKs better identify a degraded node and avoid it when when sending messages to nodes. Um, I don't have any answers to that one, but like I think that's it's an interesting problem.
Yes. Yeah, I had heard about that too. I don't, or I wasn't aware if there were any discussions taking place for that already. I believe that was uh that was an issue opened up in the JS one, I believe. But yeah, I had heard about that. And I think we were planning or uh yeah, that was something that needed to be addressed at some point too. But I don't think that was something we were focusing on just yet. But yeah, again, that is on our radar. We'll probably look at it next sprint maybe.
Yeah, I just raised it because I think it's an interesting design discussion. So maybe if anyone in the community wants to just participate or listen in, I think it's an interesting problem.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think what that will boil down to is basically going a layer deeper in our error checking. Because right now a lot of our error checking is at the application like consensus level. So like we can see different response codes from consensus node and propagate those errors at that level. But I think the issue you were describing, or that we've seen, is at the gRPC level. Um, so that yeah, that'll require us to go a little bit deeper, look into how gRPC propagates those errors, and then um, implement whatever logic we need to do retries correctly or trying different nodes correctly. Um, but yeah, yeah. So that's coming down the line at some point. But I'm still not exactly sure when yet.
Or I think maybe the other solution is something like a fast fail. Like if a node doesn't respond within 100 milliseconds or something, then you just automatically move on to the next node, regardless of the error type. So I mean that was the other. I mean I think that was the other suggestion that maybe came up.
Hmm. Yeah, I think right now the SDKs use blocking calls when they're for their gRPC requests. So I think yeah, other options may need to be explored there. Yeah, like you said, we could do like a some like timeout should I would think would be easily um we could easily implement that. But yeah, it's just a matter of seeing what gRPC has to offer and picking the best solution. Cool. So yeah, I mean that's all I had. I don't know if anyone else has any other topics they would like to discuss or bring to the table. But I'm gonna go ahead and open the floor now to if anyone wants to bring anything up. Otherwise, we'll get 45 minutes back. Alrighty. Well, thanks for joining everyone. We'll catch you in a couple weeks. See ya.
Thank you.